Rama, 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 Hare Hare. In anticipation of this coming Thursday's Gaura Purnima, the topic is in relation to Lord Chaitanya. And the topic specifically, if you can see this giant screen here, it's a cover of teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And that's the topic, not the book, but the teachings of Lord Chaitanya in 25, 30 minutes. The teachings of Lord Chaitanya is a book that Srila Prabhupada wrote very early in the Hare Krishna movement. Later, the full version, Chaitanya Charitamrita, was written, translated. But it's a summary of the 5 main sections of Chaitanya Charitamrita where Lord Chaitanya was instructing. Here's the 5. His instructions to Rupa Goswami. His instruction to Sanatana Goswami. That's 2. His instructions to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. His instructions to Prakashananda Saraswati. Both of those 2 were Vedanta Sutra like discussions. The topics with Rupa and Sanatana were very elevated topics in the science of Krishna consciousness, which later Rupa Goswami wrote as Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and other writings. And then the 5th was a very interesting dynamic where Lord Chaitanya was giving teachings by having Ramananda Roy speak those teachings. So he was like a ventriloquist. He was speaking through Ramananda Roy. So those are the 5 sections that are in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And how did Krishnadas Kaviraj, who was the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, come to know all those teachings? He had access to Sarup Damodar Goswami's diary. Prabhupada writes this in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So who was Sarup Damodar? We don't hear so much about Sarup Damodar. Sarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy were 2 very intimate associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they had both had profound understanding of scripture and profound understanding of the moods of Lord Chaitanya, and a profound way of amplifying those moods of Lord Chaitanya's love for Krishna by citing verses from scripture and nourishing and amplifying those moods of love of Lord Chaitanya. Sarup Damodar had a very particular role to play along with this writing of his diary. He didn't write books, but he wrote a diary which was the basis of books. The basis of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, specifically the teachings of Lord Chaitanya that he gave in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that which we know of, came from Sarup Damodar. And he also was the direct instructor of Raghunath Das Goswami. One of the 6 Goswamis was Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami lived in Puri for 16 years, which was most of the time when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in a state of ecstatic madness of love of God, and he understood everything that was going on by first-hand witnessing and by hearing the inner understanding from Sarup Damodar, because Sarup Damodar was guiding him. And later, Raghunath Das went to Vrindavan after Mahaprabhu's departure, and Raghunath Das was instructed by Rupa and Sanatana to speak several hours a day, 3-4 hours a day, every day, for the remaining 48 years of his life on the life of Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri, which he understood from Sarup Damodar. and which was the basis of Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'm giving you a little background on the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, how it came to be. Of the teachings to Rupa Goswami, one of the primary places where Lord Chaitanya instructed Rupa Goswami was at Prayag, the Dashashvamedha Ghat. It occurred when Lord Chaitanya was on his way back from Vrindavan. Rupa Goswami had left the government service of Nawab Hussain Shah, and there's details involving all of that. When he left government service, through a messenger who went to Puri, he wanted to find out where Lord Chaitanya was so he could rendezvous with him. He went from where he was, which was his ancestral home in Bengal, to Prayag. He met Lord Chaitanya there, and for 10 days, I just heard Prabhupada describing this in his Nectar Devotion series. For 10 days continuously, Rupa Goswami heard from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the science of loving exchanges with Krishna. A very important teaching of Lord Chaitanya was rasa, which Lord Chaitanya then instructed Rupa Goswami to write, specifically to write on what he had heard. This section is called Sri Rupa Shiksha, and from it he wrote Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Now that's not the only time that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Rupa. After those 10 days were over, Lord Chaitanya instructed him to go to Vrindavan. He said, after some time we can meet again in Puri. And it lasted for a month. He went to Vrindavan for a month, and he began composing a drama about Krishna's pastimes. And he got to a certain point where he didn't know how to proceed. He wanted to go consult Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so he left Vrindavan, went to Puri, stayed for 10 months with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri. So that's another section where he was instructed. And then wrote 100,000 verses of transcendental literature in glorification of Krishna and his pastimes and so forth, according to what was imparted into his heart by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'm going to go quickly because the teachings of Lord Chaitanya is a big topic. The second big person, fantastically enormous person, to hear teachings was from Lord Chaitanya, was Sanatana Goswami. They met in Varanasi. Just after leaving Prayag and instructing Rupa Goswami, who then went to Vrindavan, Lord Chaitanya went to Varanasi, and he was there. He met up with, or Sanatana Goswami met up with him, and stayed for 2 months. A little disproportionate, 10 days and 2 months. But for 2 months, day and night, he instructed. Now, many other things happened in Varanasi between the two, but his instructions, called Sri Sanatana Shiksha, became a very important foundation. We find those teachings in Chaitanya Charitamrita and in teachings of Lord Chaitanya, what he taught Sanatana Goswami. Now, I mentioned there's 3 other sections of Lord Chaitanya's teachings. They're also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but largely those were on philosophy. The philosophy specifically of Vedanta Sutra in its 3 divisions. Understanding the relationship between all things and the source of the emanation of all things. Sambandha Gyan. Sambandha, those of you from India, you know Sambandha. relationship, the relationship of all things with the source of emanation, and then acting in that relationship, it's Abhideya, and then the fruit of acting in that relationship. That's Vedanta Sutra. And Lord Chaitanya discussed Vedanta Sutra with these two personalities, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Prakashananda Saraswati, both of whom, upon hearing his explanation, were astounded, and they, along with their followers, became devotees. I mean, it wasn't overnight, but it was profound conversion, and this was the power of Lord Chaitanya's teachings to these eminent scholars. And then Ramananda Roy, that's a whole other section. Now, back to Sarup Damodar. Sarup Damodar, there's a topic, if all goes as planned, I'll be with you all again on Memorial Day weekend with construction going up on the hill up there, discussing the teachings of Raghunath Das that he received from Sarup Damodar Goswami on the internal cultivation of Krishna Bhakti. Specifically, the internal cultivation of Krishna Bhakti that goes beyond the regulative stage, or Vidhi Bhakti, or Vaidhi Bhakti, into the spontaneous stage of devotion. Sarup Damodar gave extensive teachings to Raghunath Das Goswami, who in 11 verses wrote the essence of what he heard, the instructions from Sarup Damodar, which were instructions from Lord Chaitanya, given to Sarup Damodar, given to Raghunath, given to us. And again, Lord Chaitanya didn't write, he instructed others who wrote. The 8 verses, Shikshastaka, those we can say, those are his teachings, and everything else are his teachings also. Another great personality didn't hear directly from Lord Chaitanya, but he heard from Rupa Goswami, and that was Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami was even more prolific than the rest of all Goswamis put together. He wrote 400,000 verses. 400,000 verses. Think about it. I mean, how long does it take to write a Vyasa Puja homage? 400,000 verses. And amongst those 400,000 verses, most celebrated are the Sandarbhas. Sandarbhas is a treatise, it's a particular type of literature called the Sandarbha, explaining Lord Chaitanya's teachings. And in that text, listen carefully. He wanted to show, as any follower would want to show, that the person who he accepts as the foremost teacher, his teachings are the highest. Natural. Anyone from any tradition is going to want to do that. Here's the strategy. Srimad Bhagavatam is the highest teaching. The teachings of Lord Chaitanya are the same as Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya's teachings are the highest. Now, the first part he did in a short section of the first of the 6 Sandarbhas. And then the rest of it is establishing, by his own methodology, very, very clear, very scholarly, very elevated, the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam are the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And the conclusion is, Lord Chaitanya's teachings are the best. There's many other things that the Sandarbhas are, but it's Lord Chaitanya's teachings on Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana, or it's the teachings of Vedanta Sutra. It's a commentary on Vedanta Sutra without calling it a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. That's another understanding or explanation of what Sandarbhas are. Extremely elevated subject matter. So those are some examples of directly Lord Chaitanya teaching others and others writing what his teachings are. Another understanding of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya is shown in these two publications. They have the same title, by the way. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, His Life and Precepts. Many of you know of that publication. It was written in English by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in 1896, a few years ago. And at his own expense, he printed the book and sent it to universities all around the world with the view that at least the educated people in the world should know who was Lord Chaitanya and his teachings. So he sent it to universities so that university people could become aware who was Lord Chaitanya and Lord Chaitanya's teachings. And as you know the nice story, copies were found in universities. The one that's mentioned in Leelamrita, Prabhupada's life, was in McGill University, but there were others. Somewhere in Southeast Asia, copies were found in universities. Worldwide. He wanted the world to know. So the image that's on the left is something like the original printing. I have a copy the cover was pinkish, not necessarily from the same printing, but it's from Gaudiya Math when they reprinted, and it was, very, the typesetting was offset type, which means it was not like really regular. And his life is the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, and then the teachings or precepts was in the form of 10 essential teachings that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was also prolific. He wrote 100 books, and in about 2/3 of those 100 books, somewhere in those writings is these 10 essential teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And he gave it a name, Dasa Mula Tattva. Many of you know that term, Dasa Mula Tattva. And I'm going to give you a sneak preview of Dasa Mula Tattva in 3 minutes and explain that I gave a seminar in Vrindavan for 30 days on this topic. It's a very full topic, so here we go. The first of the 10 is the foundation. That's the Vedas are the perfect proof. Bhaktivinoda Thakur liked the term amnaya, proof, evidence, pramana, similar. And then the other 9 of the 10 follow the same, Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana. And here's the Sambandha ones. There's 7 of them. It's a big topic. In Vedanta Sutra, it's a big topic in Lord Chaitanya's teachings. Simple. I'll go through it quickly because of time. Already 1:30. Okay. Hari is one without a second. Monotheism. The source of everything is one, and that one is Hari, and there isn't a second. 2, he has unlimited Shaktis. Hari is possessed of Shaktis, and those Shaktis are unlimited. It's a major component of Jiva Goswami's writings as well in Bhagavad Sandarbha without going into it. And personalists don't like that idea. Personalists like that idea. Unlimited potencies. 3, he's an ocean of rasa, or rasa sindhu. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He is rasa. It's directly from the Vedic texts. Rasa Vaisaha. That is the absolute truth. Ocean of rasa. 4. Now we're going to the jivas. The jivas, Vivinangsa, they're parts of that whole. Then 5 and 6. Some are liberated, some are engrossed in matter, some become liberated. Now we have just one more. All spiritual and material phenomena are Achintya Veda Veda Prakash. We're used to hearing Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. That phrase, the detail, came from Jiva Goswami. It's not something that Lord Chaitanya said. It's something that Jiva Goswami understood and he wrote and became popularized by his writing it. And it's included in the relationship, this is Sambandha topic, the relationship of all things to the source of all things is the relationship of oneness and difference simultaneously. Now, some of you have been around for a while, not just the Hare Krishna movement, but you're spiritually well read. So some of you know there's a group of people over here that say everything is one, and there's a group of people over here that say everything is different. And Lord Chaitanya said everything is one and different simultaneously. Very harmonious teaching, and with support. That's Lord Chaitanya's teaching. So that's 7. Then there's 2 more. There's the activities, the Abhideya. So bhakti is the only means for attaining the final objective of spiritual existence. That's one of Lord Chaitanya's essential teachings. And then when you act in that spiritual relationship through bhakti, then prema, Krishna prema is alone the objective. So now you have it, Dasamula, or 10 essential teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And if you like, you can listen to the recordings of the 1-month seminar on that topic. I know one devotee from my association with this devotee in China, Sankirtan. He was from Switzerland. I say was because he died of cancer. But he studied Dasamula in Vrindavan. And then he got really excited about it. And he studied it more deeply and more deeply. He wrote a book about it. He was going around before he died of cancer to teach that everything can be understood by these 10 things. You understand these 10 things, you can understand everything. Backwards and forwards. I remember when I finished this 1-month course, we had a few days left. So I decided, let's ask the audience to select any section of the Bhagavatam. We'll go through it item by item by item, and every sentence can connect with one of the 10 principles of Dasamula. So we took the prayers of the demigods to Krishna in the prison house of Kamsa. Every single sentence connects with Dasamula. So Lord Chaitanya's teachings were comprehensive. And these 10 encapsulate. And it's the classic approach that Bhaktivinoda Thakur took to take something that's really big, make it real simple, and repeat it again and again and again. A classic approach. Systematize something that's very vast. So the whole Srimad Bhagavatam and the whole of Lord Chaitanya's teachings are covered by these 10 essential teachings. In his teachings on the 6th, which has to do with living entities, Jivadaya, Namaruchi, and Vaishnav Seva. Jivadaya, this is a repeated, subsequent to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, repeated phrase. These 3 things are important teachings of Lord Chaitanya's message. Jivadaya, mercy to jivas. Namaruchi, taste for the holy name. Vaishnav Seva. If you don't remember anything else from this evening, remember these 3. And you're in good shape. Not just remember them, but live by them. Compassion to jivas, taste for the holy name, service to the Vaishnavas. Lord Chaitanya's teachings. Lord Chaitanya's teachings are explained in this way in Adi Lila, chapter 3. Now we're going to go up a notch a little bit into the Raganuga Bhakti stage. Ready? I shall personally inaugurate the religion of the age, Nama Sankirtan, the congregational chanting of the holy name. I shall make the world dance in ecstasy, realizing the four mellows of loving devotional service. Now, I put the four mellows of loving devotional service, if you can see the screen, in yellow letters because we're used to hearing 5. And here he's saying, Krishna Das Kaviraj is saying 4 mellows. And that is, Lord Chaitanya didn't emphasize Shanta. He emphasized starting with Dasya. And he emphasized starting with Dasya because it leads to spontaneous love. So, the next chapter, Ragamarg Bhakti Loke Karite Pracharana. The Lord wanted to propagate devotional service to the world, in the world, on the platform of spontaneous attraction. Spontaneous attraction means Raga Bhakti or Ragamarg. That's the translation of the Bengali. Ragamarg Bhakti Loke Karite Pracharana. Here's a logo. Maybe because the screen is small, you can't see so well. This is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's logo for the Gaudiya Math. And to keep it really simple, because of time, on the left side of the screen is Vidhi, and the left side of the screen is Vidhi, the right side is Raga. Raga shows Radha Krishna under a tree. Vidhi shows Lakshmi Narayan on a throne. And down here on the left corner is Archana with a bell and incense that's guided by the Pancharatras. Vaishnavas follow the Pancharatrika Vidhi. Our worship is according to that standard. And it's promoting Vidhi. We follow the Vidhis for Archana, guided by the scripture, Pancharatra. On the right side, at the top is Srimad Bhagavatam, and check it out down here. There's Mridanga, but there's also something else along with that Mridanga. That's a printing press. Right? Brihat Mridanga. Bhaktivinoda, you're an amazing Mridanga player. And Srila Prabhupada is an amazing Brihat Mridanga player. And so is Bhaktisiddhanta. That's the Ragamar, Bhagavat Dharma, or hearing and chanting topics of Krishna from the Bhagavatam, and distributing that understanding through the printing press and Nama Sankirtan, Nama Ruchi. That's the Ragamar. Marg means path. So, Bhaktisiddhanta was strictly following what Lord Chaitanya taught. Prabhupada is strictly following what Bhaktisiddhanta taught. And we're trying to become strict followers of Srila Prabhupada and our disciplic succession following behind Lord Chaitanya. And just 2 more slides, and we're crossing across the finish line. Those who have heard Prabhupada's recorded lectures, you've heard this phrase many, many times. Prithivite achiyati yata nagaradigram sarvatra prachar hoive moranam. Which means, this is Lord Chaitanya's prediction, that in every town and village, the chanting of my name will be heard. Some of you may be recipients of the GBC strategic planning team announcements of things that they're doing in warm anticipation of Lord Chaitanya's appearance, they're calling it every town and village. It's from this. And every town and village, a chanting of my name will be heard. So that's a teaching, and it's a prediction, and it's going to happen, whoever makes it happen. Prabhupada was very much empowered to make it happen, and those who are careful followers, I don't blame you. Okay. Those who are careful followers of Prabhupada in artistic succession understand it's a very important service. Very important service. I mean, I could easily spin out. Yesterday, day before yesterday, there was a discussion during this question and answer session. What do we do about the madness in the world today? A politics question. Of course we chant, we do, bhakti, but what about all the madness and what we're supposed to do? What's recommended for us? This is what's recommended for us. The transformation of consciousness is what's recommended for us, internally and externally. And when that consciousness becomes transformed in fact, then it can change the face of the world. And if it doesn't transform, it's simply making adjustments that doesn't end up in the wanted result. Doesn't mean don't do things, but do the main thing. And do it abundantly, and do it vigorously, and do it widely. And the face of the world can change. I won't get into politics. It's not a good time. Here's the last slide. Some of you are from India. Some of you are children of those who are from India, and so you're now Americans. But none of you are from India. So what was Lord Chaitanya's teachings for y'all? As they say in Texas. Bharata Bhumite Haila Manusha Janma Jar Janma Sartakari Para Upakara. So here you are, Lord Chaitanya's teachings for you all. One who has taken his birth as a human being in the land of India, Bharatavarsha, should make his life successful, that's the first part, and work for the benefit of all other people. Prabhupada this is the word for word, the translation found in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but take the message of Krishna all around the world, make other people fortunate. I remember very clearly, probably Bhaktivinoda remembers this particular class one morning in New York. Prabhupada was describing in Henry Street. You were there in Henry Street, right? Yeah. So Prabhupada said in the course of one morning class, skipping many things, my spiritual master found me in a dark place. And he somehow made me fortunate. And he became very emotional, his voice was shaking. And then he instructed me, you go forward and make others fortunate. And so I have come. And the devotees with the drums and the cartels went, Jai. And then he looked around the room and said, and now I am instructing you. It's still there. As I have come to make you fortunate, you go forward and make others fortunate. And the room was like 15 drums were pounding, people bouncing off the walls and ceiling. This is the instruction from our founder Acharya, because it's the instruction of Lord Chaitanya. Now, he was speaking to those that weren't born in India, but now many of you, this is the teaching of Lord specific for those of you born in India, human beings born in India. Make your life successful and work for the benefit of all other people. this is the last slide. Chaitanya Charitamrita includes these teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And my thought was there's probably going to be a promotion on the sale of sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this is a lead-in for I'm your cheerleader, whoever's heading up this program of encouraging people to take sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Actually, that was my idea in selecting this topic, by the way, is encouraging all of you to become familiar with the teachings of Lord Chaitanya through Chaitanya Charitamrita. And if you already have a set, find somebody that doesn't and buy them a gift set and gift it to them.
There's a second.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Okay. So whoever's going to do the rah-rah system bop can do that later, but that's the final slide. And I have 12 minutes for any discussion. Is there time?
Yes.
Okay, look at that.
What's right here?
Any comments or questions? Behind you.
Hare Krishna. We were told in a class maybe a month or two ago that in India, probably Mayapur, there may be some move towards getting the Chaitanya Mangal and Chaitanya Bhagavat also printed. Do you have any news on that front?
I know that Chaitanya Bhagavat has been translated into English with Bhaktisiddhanta's commentary, and it's available. It's been around for 10 years, 8 years, something like that. In English. Good translation. Detailed. You know, Bhaktisiddhanta kind of detail and all those purports. It's already there. And there are copies of Chaitanya Mangala. I have, a digital one on my computer, so it's available. It's available. And things are online these days. You probably can download a PDF of Chaitanya Mangala. And you can order hard copies of Chaitanya Bhagavat, I'm sure.
Also, Chaitanya Bhagavat's available audiobook on YouTube. You can listen to it.
Okay.
And Chaitanya Charitamrita as well, but you still should purchase the set.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate just a little bit more on that last verse about making yourself successful and then helping others? Can you go into a little further detail?
Well, yeah. Our life is two things, receiving and giving. And Lord Chaitanya came to give. And we just have to receive. And make your life successful is to receive the gift. He came to give. And what's the gift he came to give? We all know. Our hearts aren't fully open enough yet. But he came to give Braja Prema. Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. Krishna Prema Pradayate came to give Krishna Prema. But a particular type of Krishna Prema, which is the spontaneous love of the residents of Vrindavan, to make your life successful as best you can. And as you're making your life, you don't have to become perfect and then you can speak to others. What you have received, you give to others. So it's receiving and giving. It's loving exchange. Exactly what's described in Rupa Goswami's writings and Prabhupada's purports to Nectar of Instruction. ISKCON was established to provide facility for loving exchange, giving and receiving. So, make your life successful means receive. And to make others fortunate is to give what you've received. Each of us have different capacity. We have different receivers. We have different personalities. We have different evolution on the spiritual scale of how we developed our Krishna consciousness. So according to our capacity, we give. You can give to anybody. Yeah, something else.
Well, it just doesn't mean get a degree and become a doctor or
No.
and then feed the hungry or...
No. Spiritual. Thank Thank you. You have something? No, okay.
Other questions? Comments? There's three right here.
So in your last slide, I saw human beings who were born in India to be helpful for others. Why it doesn't apply to other parts of the world? Just a question, Swamiji. If you could please enlighten, I'd be
It does
appreciative.
apply. But specifically, the instruction from Lord Chaitanya was apply to those those who are, it's no secret, those who are born in India is a very fortunate birth. Now, yeah, I don't think you're going to argue with me, but it's no. Those are, it's Punya Bhumi. That's Bharata Bhumi. It's a place, Bharat Varsha. Those that have that vasana, that character of piety, to have the good fortune of being born in such a pious land, use it. Make it, take it to the stage of success, meaning full spiritual awakening. You know, Prabhupada would lament. I'm going to go off topic. I won't go off topic. Prabhupada often lamented that India is following the West. Build skyscrapers, get, IT and this and that, and then will be like the West, and that's progress. And leaving their own culture. The spiritual culture is the culture, Bharata Bhumi, or Bharata Varsha. So that's why, because the other places don't have the same piety inherent in the birth. Often Prabhupada would refer to some Chinese, he didn't give the name, but a celebrated Chinese scholar said if you want spirituality, you have to go to India. Everybody knows that. It's deep within the tradition, the culture of India, thus reference to India. But Prabhupada would lament, but Indians are leaving their culture. So now I'm turning to those outside of India, and they're taking it up. So it applies to everybody, but it's special for those who have that piety within them. Yes?
Right behind the
I do understand about the receiving, but I don't know how to give it.
Do you like to cook?
Yes, I like to.
Okay, just give it prasadam.
Okay, thank you.
And you like to read?
Yes.
Well, give books.
Okay.
Here's a Chaitanya Charitamrita set. Do you have one in your home? Okay. Buy a set and give it to somebody. How's that? Fantastic. Okay. Okay, the microphone's coming. And similarly, whenever there's some opportunity, there's some festival, and you meet some people, and you greet them, you say, hey, I've been around a few years, and this is a wonderful thing. You just bring, by your character, you'll invite people to become attracted to bhakti because your character is very inviting, very attractive character. That's how you invite people. That's how you give. Just by your character and your words and your nice smile. Even behind a mask, I'm sure you're smiling. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I wanted to ask that I feel that Jiva Daya topic is a very vast topic.
Yes, it is.
If you could please explain a little more.
Well, a little more. The jiva doesn't refer just to devotees. The Vaishnava is the third of the three, Vaishnava Seva, but jivas, just like this giving, the unfortunate, and be compassionate upon those that are unfortunate. So, her question is how to. You remind them of Krishna somehow. That's how Jiva Daya. Now, supposing there's living entities that aren't human, you chant loudly or go on Sankirtan with many others, and the teaching is the living entities in any form of life are getting enormous benefit. Enormous benefit. Just like there's some plants on the windowsill over here. They're getting enormous benefit just sitting there on the windowsill. That's Jivadaya. They'll fill your home up with plants. And chant. So it's living entities recognizing behind that life form, whatever it is, there's a soul. And do that which is going to help them make an incremental step of progress towards the goal. They may take from the lower life form, the next life form as a human form, and practice Krishna Bhakti. We don't know how that, the next destination, but we can be kind in ways that's appropriate for that life form and who we are and everything. I think we're going to allow the MC to do her thing, or your thing.
Is there another question? We have time for one last question, if there's a question from anybody. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the lecture. And you pointed 3 points, like Jiva,
Jivadaya, Namaruchi,
Namaruchi, and
Vaishnav Seva.
Vaishnav. It's very inspiring.
Which one do you like best?
All 3.
All 3. Oh, that's a good answer. Okay.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
So what's your question?
No, it's comment.
Comment. You like them?
Yes.
Oh. Let's sign you up. She just invited everyone to do some Vaishnav Seva. So you make sure you come and do some Vaishnav Seva.
Okay, did you want to say something about the Chaitanya Charitamrita?